you know, a lot of people think about, say, religion, and they think about that as, you know, a definition that you have for yourself. And so, you know, there's us, and then there's the people who are not part of the religion.
Yeah.
This sounds very different. Do you consider this teaching a religion, and how is it considered? What's the difference?
First of all, let me answer, do I think this is a religion? I hesitate to say yes, because then all of a sudden we're in a box. I think we're a movement. I think we are a philosophical as well as a psychological and an energetic. There's not one category that I could put this into. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, was inspired by all the wonderful metaphysicians that came before him. But I would classify it as a religion in that, you know, we're categorized as New Thought. And New Thought is not the New Age. New Thought is really the idea that all of us have the possibility to start to think in new ways about whatever the conditions in our life are. You're a therapist. You work with people individually, one-on-one. And I know for certain that, and part of my path has been that modality. I worked very closely with someone that was very beneficial in my evolution from that psychological perspective. But what I know is that when we're inspired to think of things in new ways, it's a new thought. Because I don't think there's any new thoughts out there. We're not bringing people in here and saying, hey, we got all the new ideas for you. But what we're doing is inspiring people to think about their lives and where they are currently in a new way that helps move them and shift the consciousness, which will shift the experience. And so we look at it from very much the spiritual perspective. You know, Scott Peck says it in The Road Less Traveled, that all healing that takes place at that level is at that spiritual, at that soul level. And so, so our approach to spirituality is very individual. It's very much about that transformation of the individual. And so it's not so much around devotional days and rituals. And all those things are great. Ritual is wonderful if it shifts us in consciousness. If the shift doesn't take place, you know, if we're, you know, I was raised in a tradition where you typically went to confession, you know, once or twice a month or maybe every week. And there were times as a young boy I felt a lot of pressure to make up something to confess because I couldn't think of anything. You know,
busy enough that weekend.
It'd been a slow week. And so, you know, there's those kind of things that I think all of that at some level has value for people. But when ritual of any sort lacks the meaning and lacks the essence, then I think it's lost. And so when you ask, do I compare this to religion or are we a religion? I would say, yeah, very much so, because we work at that level, that soul level of spirituality and consciousness. And if you know, if there are rituals in our lives that support that, but we don't have a lot of rituals in our tradition, other than the things that sort of arise from us and hopefully with the spontaneity of sparking something, a shift in someone in their approach to an awareness. Well, and a lot of it is just doing our own work, paying down our own spiritual debt through forgiveness. You know, I think forgiveness is huge in spiritual practice because it's one of the ways that we can free ourselves energetically to step back into the flow of life, which is our natural state of being.